Hello, voters. I'm Brian McCrone with NBC 10 Digital, and I'm here, as always, with NBC 10's political reporter, Lauren Mayk. We are, as usual, also talking the 2022 midterms here in Pennsylvania, which are as fiery as always the last week. There's some debates that have been happening, Lauren, particularly between the Republican candidates in the governor's race and in the Senate race. Tell us a little bit about what's been happening in the last week.
Yeah, and these are actually forums, which they seem to be distinguishing between the forums and the debates, and they're, I guess, a little bit less formal in terms of the format and that sort of thing. But they still have time limit rules, and the candidates are all appearing on stage together. The one that happened yesterday is getting some attention. That was Republican Senate candidates for Pennsylvania, including Mehmet Oz and Dave McCormick, who we have not seen together on stage in a public forum like this. They did a party one behind closed doors months ago, but really we've seen them going at it in commercials back and forth. That's how people have been seeing them interact. So this was a chance for voters to actually see them on stage together and with other candidates. Jeff Bartos and Kathy Barnett were on stage with them. This was in Erie, and there were some fireworks at this, largely focused on Oz, which is interesting because he was the one who was taking a lot of the fire and getting attacked by some of his and criticized by some of his competitors. But there haven't been a lot of polls in this race, but there was a Fox poll about 3 weeks ago that actually had Dave McCormick up by 10 points or so. So interestingly, it wasn't Dave McCormick who was the focus of some of these attacks, but it was Oz who was the one who was getting criticized. And apparently there were ground rules that were supposed to prevent the candidates from attacking each other, but it did not work.
Let's remind the voters that it is actually Dr. Oz who's running for Senate in Pennsylvania, and the celebrity doctor, and then Dave McCormick, who you've talked about, is a former CEO of a hedge fund, and he's from Western Pennsylvania as well. So those are two of the front runners, but there's several candidates in this Senate race, but those two are going back and forth. Yeah. So again, those were two of the big names for the first time at this forum, right, in Erie.
Yeah, and they were on stage together. They sat on opposite ends of the stage, and there were two candidates in between them, Kathy Barnett and Jeff Bartos. And Kathy Barnett actually took quite a few jabs at Oz while he was speaking throughout the event. The moderator, at one point, threatened to cut her mic, to mute her mic, because, like I said, there were these ground rules apparently where they weren't supposed to attack each other. But that just, it's hard to rein them in sometimes.
And Kathy Barnett is from Montgomery County, right? What's a little bit about her?
Actually, he's originally from
Jeff
Redmond,
Bartos.
I believe he lives in Montgomery County now.
A businessman So Jeff Bartos he ran for lieutenant governor. It was 4 years ago, right? So, and unsuccessfully, but now he's back again, and he's big in Republican circles, right? And then also Kathy Barnett. Just a little bit about her as you're talking about her?
Kathy Barnett, she's a conservative commentator. She talked, interestingly, she talked a little bit about her finance background last night, which I haven't heard her talk a lot about. It doesn't mean that she hasn't. I haven't obviously been to all of her events, but it was interesting that she did talk a little bit about that last night. She's also a veteran as well. So she has a lot of varied experiences, and she has been doing some campaign events, I know, with Doug Mastriano, who's running for governor, which is just interesting because sometimes the two worlds don't don't meet. The ones running for one race don't necessarily cross paths sometimes with ones running for something else, but they have. But she was very aggressive last night, because this is, we sort of talked a lot about how it was the first time that Oz and McCormick were on stage together in a forum that we could all watch. But it was also the first time that these other candidates really had a chance to interact with these two men who have been spending a lot of money on campaign ads and have a high profile, because Oz is obviously has a TV celebrity, but they also have had a lot of money to spend that some of the other candidates just haven't had at this point in the race.
So that's heating up on the Senate side.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, you touched on it. It's interesting. So the dynamic is that Oz is not really the front runner according to this Fox News poll, right? But
there haven't been a whole lot of polls, and I actually just checked this morning to see if I was missing anything, and there really haven't been a lot of polls in this race or in the governor's race. But the Fox poll that was, I believe, March 8th that came out, so it's about 3 weeks ago, had McCormick up. It was McCormick and then Oz and then some of the other candidates. But I don't remember any time where McCormick was specifically singled out by a candidate for attacks in terms of his policies that created any kind of blow up yesterday. It was really going after Oz.
On the governor's side in the Republicans' race, there was an issue this week with YouTube and with a forum for them, right? That aired and then was posted to YouTube and then was taken down by YouTube, right? And then so this went all the way up to the Silicon Valley palace of Google, right? What happened here? You followed this a little bit about what was going on.
Yeah, I did, and there is still a little bit of a mystery about it. I'll tell you that this was a forum that gubernatorial candidates did, Republican candidates for governor in Pennsylvania did. I believe it was hosted by the Pennsylvania Families Institute, and the institute then afterwards said that YouTube took it down, and there was a lot of chatter in Republican circles and by some of these candidates saying that they were being censored and that big tech was getting involved. And not allowing their voices out, but there was never really anything specific from YouTube about which specific comment it was that violated their rules and prompted them to take it down. I spoke with somebody from the Pennsylvania Families Institute who told me that what they were told was that it violated YouTube guidelines, specifically regarding comments about the 2020 election. However, they didn't say it was this comment from this candidate at this point in the forum, this many minutes into it. So we never really knew that. And then I heard back from YouTube. It did take a couple days to get a response, but I did hear back from YouTube saying that, there had been an appeal process and that they were reinstating the video and they were putting it back up. Now, I asked them if they could send me the link to where it was put back up, and they actually haven't done that yet. They haven't sent it to me, but they say that it was put back up and that if things were taken down mistakenly, they act to correct that. So, but still, I still did not get an answer to which specific comment it was that prompted action in the first place. So that we'll have to watch and see if anything like that happens again, or if we get any more information about, what exactly transpired there, because we don't know if there was a complaint. We don't know if they're monitoring all of these forums and there was something specific, like specific comment, or if it was multiple comments. We just don't know.
Yeah, we'll see how this how these tech giants keep monitoring misinformation out on the internet. This is all this stuff is happening on the Republican side. I should remind voters who are watching on Facebook and on YouTube. Speaking of YouTube, who are watching us now live on Facebook and YouTube, that we're covering the the primaries here in Pennsylvania, the midterms are happening, control for Congress, as well as the Pennsylvania gubernatorial race is happening, so control for the governor's office here in Pennsylvania. You're going to be on it all year long, and a lot of this you've been talking about has been on the Republican side so far in the last week. It's been a lot of excitement there. The Democratic side, you have Josh Shapiro, who's running unopposed for governor. So there's not a lot of action right now, right? Because the primary is going to be him on the ballot, and that's it. On the Democratic side, you have a large field. What do you think? Is it anything noteworthy? I think they're going to be competing with the feel of voters overall, right? There's been there was an NBC news poll that just came out this week, right?
Yeah.
I think I'm going to pull it up. I think that'll affect sort of how Democrats run, right, heading into the primary, and then also heading into the general. But I'm going to pull this up.
I can. But while you're pulling that up, Ryan, let me sort of introduce it a little bit. This is interesting. This is an NBC News poll, basically about how people are feeling, and that matters when you go to the polls. When you, especially at a time when you've got lots of different races, how people are feeling about the president, how people are feeling about the party in power, which is Democrats in Washington, Republicans in the legislature in Pennsylvania, but a Democratic governor in Pennsylvania. How people are feeling about all that matters and influences how they vote. And so this poll was taking a look at how people feel about President Biden, what their top issues are. And the top issue for people, according to this poll, is the cost of living and inflation. That was their number one concern, the most important thing to them. And the thing that they wanted President Biden to work on the most, even over Ukraine and what's been happening with Ukraine and the Russian invasion there, they want him to work on inflation and prices and
right. I highlighted that. Yeah, it's almost 70%, right? Was the 70% of people want that to be Biden's top issue, right? So
68% there. And interestingly, President Biden will be actually speaking midday today about gas prices. And that cost, that message obviously is getting to the White House to a certain degree. But when you look at that, this is the most important issue to them. And then people were asked in this survey, who do you blame? Whose fault is it? Who do you hold responsible for this? And the top category was President Biden and his policies. 38% of respondents in this particular NBC News poll said that it's President Biden's fault and his policies' fault for inflation and the rising prices that they're paying. The second one was COVID-19. The COVID-19 pandemic came in. 28% said that it was COVID that they blamed for it. 23% said corporations and increasing prices, and then 6% said Russia's invasion of Ukraine. So you can see sort of, where people are ranking that. And so if they are blaming President Biden and his policies, that rubs off on Democrats. How are Democrats going to handle that? And that goes all the way down from Senate races to governor's races to congressional races, House races. It is something that Democrats are going to have to address.
Yeah, we have 17 congressional races across the state of Pennsylvania this year, and there's I think 7 of them that sort of touch our southeastern Pennsylvania area, and they're all going to be closely watched. The Senate race, as you mentioned, so just to fill in the voters again on that, in the primary, I think is when you're really going to see an interesting play here, when Democrats are going to decide how they want to go with this. You have a range of Democrats in this primary, right? You have progressives, you have the establishment, you have sort of a mix of both. I mean, could you just give voters a little bit of a rundown, just a reminder of who's running in this Senate race?
Yeah, and there's another breakdown too that could matter, and specifically in what we're talking about when you're talking about this poll and who's to blame and whether that's going to play into it, because you've got for the Democratic side on the Senate race, you've got John Fetterman, who is the current lieutenant governor of Pennsylvania. You've got Connor Lamb, who is a congressman from Pittsburgh, from the Pittsburgh area. And you have Malcolm Kenyatta, who is a state representative from Philadelphia. There is also an ER doctor, former ER doctor, retired ER doctor, Dr. Kevin Bomlin from Philadelphia. And when it comes to the Democrats there, Connor Lamb is in Congress right now. So when you're talking about President Biden's policies, and Connor Lamb has been very outspoken that he has voted for certain policies. The question is, how will voters treat him when it comes to, will they blame him at all for any of this if they're blaming President Biden? And then you've got Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman, who is obviously in the Wolf administration. So, if people are not happy with how things have gone in Pennsylvania, will they blame John Fetterman for any of those decisions made by Governor Wolf, since he is the lieutenant governor? So, those are just, some of the dynamics at play as voters are going to be making these decisions on May 17th.
So
if they're voting by mail.
Yeah. So the week ahead, today in particular and tomorrow, but then I think we'll get to see these because they usually don't come in right away to our inboxes anyway. Today is the last day to file quarterly finance reports, right, by all the candidates. So we'll
they
get
don't have to file it today, but their books will close today. They don't file it until, they don't have to file it until next month. But you're right. The books will close tonight. So, if you feel like your inbox is flooded with people asking for money, that's why, because today is the last day of the quarter and they want to show, they want to take in a lot of money, but they also want to show that they have strong financial backing and that they're taking in a lot of money. And you'll see them say, I got $1 billion, $8 donations or however they want to break it down and however they feel that helps them. But this is the last quarterly report that they will have before that primary. And some of them actually we haven't heard from at all. Like George Paquetto, for example, he is a Republican running for Senate. He's an attorney from Philadelphia. A lot of people might know him from, his fights to keep the Columbus statue in Marconi Plaza. And when it just so happens that the timing of when he jumped in the race, he actually hasn't filed a report yet. So this will be the first time that we'll see a financial report from him. Some of the other ones, of course, we have seen, and we've seen them raise a lot of money. But yeah, today's the final day. So, people will probably be getting a lot of pleas for money for the next few hours.
Well, that's money. We'll see how that plays out over the next few weeks, and we'll see how these debates keep heating up. Not even, again, I keep using the word debate, but we haven't had an official debate yet, right? They've been forums, so
debates, mostly forums. Yeah, there have been some debates, but not all of the. In some of them, not all the candidates participated in them. So, but whenever you get to see them all on stage together, it's worth watching.
Yep, and that's what Lauren will be doing for us, and we'll be checking back in every week up until the May 17th primary here in Pennsylvania, and then the general election is in November in this midterm election year. And thanks, Lauren, for the weekly update, and we'll catch up with you again soon. Thanks a lot, Lauren.
All right. Thanks, Brian.
All right, voters. See ya. All right.